The moment I saw my granddaughter's face in the rearview mirror that Tuesday afternoon, pale and trembling, I knew something was terribly wrong. What she told me in the next 60 seconds would save both our lives. You have to believe me this time. I'm Robert Chen, 65 years old, retired architect living in Portland, Oregon. My wife Margaret passed 3 years ago from cancer, and for the longest time, I thought I'd spend the rest of my days alone in our too-quiet house on Willow Street. Then I met Diana at a charity fundraiser last spring. She was elegant, charming, 52 years old with kind eyes and a warm smile that reminded me of Maggie. We started dating. 6 months later, she moved into my house. My granddaughter, Emma, she's 12 now, never liked Diana. Not from day one. My son David would bring her over every weekend like always, and Emma would go stiff whenever Diana tried to hug her. I figured it was normal. Kids resist change. They protect what they love. I told myself she just needed time. I should have listened to her sooner. It was October 17th, a regular Tuesday. I'd picked Emma up from school because David had a work emergency. She climbed into my old Volvo, tossed her backpack in the back seat, and stayed quiet the whole drive. Not the normal 12-year-old chatter about friends and homework. Just silence. When we pulled up to a red light on Morrison Street, she leaned forward and whispered, "Grandpa, we can't go home." I glanced in the mirror. Her hands were shaking. "What do you mean, sweetie? We need to go somewhere else. Anywhere else. Please." The light turned green. A car honked behind us. My heart started pounding in that way it does when you know something's wrong but your brain hasn't caught up yet. "Emma, what's going on?" "I know something about Diana," she said, her voice cracking. "Something bad. And if we go home right now, she's going to know that I know." I pulled into a Starbucks parking lot 2 blocks away, hands gripping the steering wheel. "Tell me everything." Emma took a shaky breath. "I forgot my science textbook this morning. Dad said he'd bring it to school at lunch, but he got stuck in his meeting, remember? So I called you, but you didn't answer. You were at your doctor's appointment." I nodded. I'd had my annual checkup that morning, phone on silent. "So I called the house phone," Emma continued. Diana answered. "I told her about the textbook, and she said she'd bring it herself. She was really nice about it, said she was heading out anyway for errands." Emma paused, picking at her thumbnail. "But Grandpa, here's the thing. When she showed up at school an hour later with my textbook, I saw her get out of a car I didn't recognize. A black BMW. She was with some guy. They were laughing, and when she handed me the book, her phone buzzed. She looked at it and her whole face changed. She got really pale, told me she had to go, and practically ran back to the car. Maybe it was just a friend giving her a ride, I said, but even as the words left my mouth, I didn't believe them. "That's what I thought too," Emma said. "But Grandpa, she left her phone on my school's front desk. I grabbed it to run after her, but she was already gone, and the screen was still on. I saw the text." My chest tightened. "What did it say?" Emma pulled out her own phone and showed me a photo. She'd taken a picture of Diana's screen. The text was from a contact saved as M. It read, "Relax. The old man has no clue. 2 more weeks and we're set. Just stick to the plan." I stared at that message for a solid 10 seconds, my brain trying to make it mean something innocent. Maybe it was about a surprise party. Maybe M was a friend helping Diana with some project. But Emma's next words destroyed every excuse I tried to build. "I went through her other messages before the phone locked," she whispered. "Grandpa, there were dozens more. They're planning something. Something about your house, and your savings, and some life insurance policy. And the guy in the texts, M, he called you collateral damage." The parking lot seemed to tilt. Collateral damage. That's what you call acceptable losses in war. Acceptable sacrifice to achieve a bigger goal. That's what my granddaughter and I were to Diana and this mystery man. Acceptable losses. "Did she see you looking at the phone?" I asked. "No. I locked it and left it at the desk with the secretary." "But Grandpa," Emma's voice dropped even lower, "what if she checks her phone and sees that text was marked as read? What if she knows someone saw it?" I understood then why Emma said we couldn't go home. If Diana suspected we knew, if she thought we'd seen those messages, She might accelerate whatever plan she had. I made a decision right there in that Starbucks parking lot, with my 12-year-old granddaughter trusting me to keep her safe. "We're going to your dad's place," I said, "right now. And we're going to figure this out together." David's apartment was in the Pearl District, 20 minutes away. I called him on the drive, told him it was urgent, didn't give details. Emma sat in the back seat, hugging her backpack, looking smaller than I'd seen her look in years. When we arrived, David opened the door with confusion all over his face. "Dad, what's wrong? Is Mom's headstone okay? Did something happen at the cemetery?" "We need to talk," I said. "Inside." The three of us sat at David's kitchen table while Emma repeated everything she'd told me. I watched my son's face go through the same journey mine had. Disbelief, denial, then cold, hard anger. "Let me see the photo," he said. Emma handed over her phone. David read the text message 3 times, his jaw tightening with each pass. "Collateral damage," he repeated quietly. Then he looked at me. "Dad, how much does Diana know about your finances?" "Everything," I admitted. "She helped me organize my accounts last month, said it would be easier if everything was in one place. She had me set up online banking, helped me update my passwords." The magnitude of my stupidity was starting to sink in. "She suggested I get a new life insurance policy too. Said at my age, with my health, I should make sure Emma and you were taken care of if anything happened to me." David's face went white. "Please tell me you didn't make her the beneficiary." "No, you and Emma are the beneficiaries. But Diana helped me fill out all the paperwork. She had access to all the account numbers, the policy details, everything." "How much is the policy for?" $2 million. The number hung in the air like a bomb. David stood up, started pacing. Okay. We need to think this through. We need evidence. Real evidence. One text message from an unknown contact isn't enough to go to the police." "I can get more," Emma said suddenly. We both turned to look at her. "Her laptop," Emma explained. "She keeps it in the guest bedroom, right, Grandpa? The room where she has her little office set up?" I nodded. Diana had converted Margaret's old craft room into a workspace. She kept her laptop there, said she did freelance consulting work. I'd never questioned it. "I've seen her log into it," Emma continued. "She uses the same password for everything. I noticed because she typed it in front of me once when she was helping me with a school project on her tablet. The password is Maui 2019 with the number 2, not the word." "Absolutely not," David said immediately. "Emma, you're not going anywhere near that house or that laptop." "But Dad..." "No. We'll figure out another way." I looked at my son, then at my granddaughter, then down at my hands. These were the hands that had held David when he was born, that had built Margaret's dream kitchen, that had signed the papers to put Diana's name on my bank accounts because she'd convinced me it would make estate planning easier. I'd been such a fool. "I'll go," I said quietly. David shook his head. "Dad, if she suspects anything..." "She won't. I'll act normal. Tell her I'm sorry for missing her calls, that Emma and I stopped for ice cream after school. That's why we're late." I pulled out my phone, saw 3 missed calls from Diana. Perfect. That gave credibility to my story. I'll go home, act like nothing's wrong, wait until she's asleep, and check that laptop. "And if you find something?" David asked. "Then we take it to the police." It took another 30 minutes to work out the details. David would stay at his apartment with Emma. I'd go home, play the loving partner, act completely normal. If I found anything suspicious on the laptop, I'd photograph it, get out, and drive straight to the police station. The drive back to my house felt like driving to my own funeral. When I pulled into the driveway at 6:15 p.m., Diana's car was there. The porch light was on. Through the living room window, I could see her moving around inside, probably making dinner like she did every Tuesday. Everything looked so normal, so safe. That's what made it terrifying. I walked in through the front door, keys jangling. "Diana, I'm home. Sorry I'm late." She appeared from the kitchen, wearing Margaret's old apron, the blue one with sunflowers. Something about seeing her in my dead wife's apron made my stomach turn. "Robert," I was getting worried. "I called you 3 times. She smiled, but I noticed her eyes scanning my face, looking for something. Suspicion? Guilt? I know. I'm sorry. Emma and I stopped for ice cream after school. Lost track of time. The lie came out smooth. Too smooth. I'd never been a good liar. She's with David tonight. They're having a father-daughter movie night. Oh, was that relief in her voice? Well, I made your favorite, pot roast. We ate dinner at the table like we'd done 100 times before. She talked about her day, some story about running into an old friend at the grocery store. I nodded, asked questions, played my part. The whole time, my mind was racing. Who was M? What was the plan? How close were we to whatever Diana had been setting up? After dinner, I said I was tired. Long day at the doctor's office, lots of waiting around. Diana kissed my cheek and told me to get some rest. I went upstairs at 7:30, claiming I wanted to read in bed. I waited. At 9 p.m., I heard Diana come upstairs, heard her shower running. At 9:45, her bedroom light went off. I'd been sleeping in the guest room for the past month. Diana said I snored too much, said it was easier this way. Now I understood the real reason. She wanted me separated, isolated, alone. At 10:30, I crept out of my room. The hallway floor creaked on the third board. I'd lived in this house for 40 years. I knew every sound it made. I skipped that board. Diana's office door was closed, but not locked. I slipped inside, eased the door shut behind me. The laptop sat on the desk, closed. I opened it, and the screen glowed to life. Password required. My hands shook as I typed Maui 2019. The desktop loaded. I stood there for a moment, looking at the icons. Email, documents, photos. Where would someone keep evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud? Or worse? I opened her email first. The inbox was mostly junk, promotions, newsletters, spam. But then I saw a folder labeled M in her sidebar. My cursor hovered over it. I clicked. The emails loaded, and my blood ran cold. There were dozens, hundreds maybe, going back 6 months. The earliest one was dated April 23rd, 2 weeks before I met Diana at that charity fundraiser. The subject line read, Target acquired. I opened it. Marcus, I met him tonight. Robert Chen, 65, widowed architect. Owns his house outright. Estimated value $1.2 million. Has significant retirement savings and just took out a $2 million life insurance policy for his family. He's lonely, vulnerable, and according to my research, has a bleeding heart for charity cases. This is going to be easier than Portland. I'll have everything transferred within 6 months. D. Portland. She'd done this before. In Portland. But we were in Portland. I kept reading, hands trembling so badly I could barely click the mouse. April 30th. He asked me out to dinner. Poor thing is so desperate for companionship. I feel almost bad. Almost. May 15th. I'm moving in next week. He practically begged me. Says the house is too empty without his wife. I told him I'd be honored to keep him company. Marcus, we're going to be rich. June 3rd. Got him to add me to his checking account today. Told him it would make grocery shopping easier. He signed the papers without even reading them. July 18th. The life insurance policy is set up. Beneficiaries are his son and granddaughter, but I have all the account details. Marcus, your contact at the insurance company, is he ready? We need to make sure the claim gets processed quickly after the incident. Incident. My heart was hammering so hard I thought I might have an actual heart attack right there, and wouldn't that be convenient for Diana? August 9th. The kid is a problem. The granddaughter. She doesn't trust me. Watches me constantly. David's oblivious, but Emma's smart. We might need to adjust the timeline. September 22nd. Marcus, I need you to move up the timeline. The brat saw us together last week at the mall. I told her you were my cousin, but she didn't buy it. She's going to say something to Robert eventually. We need to act before that happens. October 5th. 2 more weeks. That's it. Then we stage the accident, collect the insurance money and the house sale, and disappear. I've already got the buyer lined up for the house. Your friend in Nevada, right? He'll pay cash? No questions asked? October 15th, 2 days ago. Robert updated his will yesterday. Everything goes to David and Emma if something happens to him. But with me, on all his accounts, I can drain them before anyone notices he's gone. The life insurance is the big score, though. 2 million, plus the house money. We're looking at almost 4 million total, Marcus. 4 million. And all I had to do was sleep next to a sad old man for 6 months. I was going to be sick. I kept scrolling. The emails got worse. Plans for how to make it look like an accident. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Marcus had a friend who could rig the furnace. It would look like a tragic malfunction. Old houses, old furnaces. These things happen. They were going to kill me. Not just rob me. Not just scam me. Kill me. And they'd been planning it for 6 months. Since before they even met me. I heard a sound in the hallway. Footsteps. I froze. Diana's voice called out, "Robert, are you up?" I closed the laptop as quietly as I could, my heart in my throat. The footsteps came closer. "Robert?" The doorknob turned. I dove behind the desk just as the door opened. Through the crack between the desk and the wall, I could see Diana's feet. She was wearing the slippers I'd bought her for her birthday. She stepped into the room, paused. "Please don't turn on the light. Please don't turn on the light." She walked to the desk. I heard her pick up the laptop. I pressed myself flatter against the wall, not breathing. She stood there for what felt like an hour. In reality, it was probably 30 seconds. Then she set the laptop back down and left, closing the door behind her. I waited 5 more minutes before I moved. When I finally stood up, my knees nearly gave out. I needed proof. Physical proof. I pulled out my phone and opened the laptop again. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone steady, but I photographed every single email in that folder. Every plan, every timeline, every cold calculation of my worth. Then I saw a folder labeled Previous. I clicked it. Inside were documents, PDFs, news articles. Portland man, 68, dies in house fire. Arson ruled out. Seattle widow drowns in bathtub. Police find no sign of foul play. San Francisco businessman, killed in hit and run. Driver never found. 3 men, 3 deaths, 3 insurance claims. All women named Diana Reeves as the grieving girlfriend or wife. She'd done this before, 3 times before, and she'd gotten away with it every single time. I photographed everything, every article, every document, every piece of evidence. By the time I was done, I had over 200 photos on my phone. I crept out of the office, down the hallway, past Diana's room where I could hear her breathing deeply, asleep and dreaming of $4 million. I made it to my car at 11:20 p.m., started the engine, pulled out of the driveway as quietly as possible. I drove straight to David's apartment. When he opened the door and saw my face, he knew immediately. "Did you find something?" "Call the police," I said. "Right now. We have her." The next 6 hours were a blur. Police at David's apartment. Detectives asking questions. Me showing them the photographs on my phone, watching their faces change as they read Diana's emails, saw the news articles, understood the full scope of what we'd uncovered. At 4 a.m., they arrested Diana at my house. I wasn't there. The detective told me later that she'd been shocked when they woke her up, claimed she had no idea what they were talking about, asked to call her lawyer. They arrested Marcus 2 hours later at his apartment in Beaverton. Marcus Turner, 43, had a record. Fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. He'd been Diana's partner for 8 years. They'd run this scam 4 times, made over $6 million. This time would have been number 5. Emma saved my life. If she hadn't seen that text message, hadn't been brave enough to tell me, hadn't pushed me to investigate, I'd be dead within 2 weeks. Carbon monoxide poisoning while I slept. Tragic accident. Poor man, living all alone in that old house. The trial took 8 months. Diana and Marcus both got 25 years. Turned out Marcus had kept even more records than Diana had. He didn't trust her not to cut him out of their arrangement, so he documented everything. Every scam, every victim, every dollar. His insurance was my justice. Emma's in high school now. She's 15, confident, brilliant. She wants to be a forensic accountant when she grows up. Says she wants to catch people like Diana before they can hurt anyone. I'm 68. I live in a smaller house now. Sold the one on Willow Street. Too many memories, both good and bad. David and Emma come over every Sunday for dinner. Sometimes David brings his new girlfriend, Lauren. She's patient, kind, and most importantly, Emma likes her. I'm more careful now about who I trust. But I haven't given up on people entirely. Because here's what I learned. Evil exists. People like Diana and Marcus, they're real. They look for vulnerability and exploit it. They're good at pretending, at becoming exactly who you need them to be. But love exists too. Real love. The kind that makes a 12-year-old girl brave enough to speak up when something's wrong. The kind that makes a father drop everything to protect his child. The kind that builds real families. Not the kind written on paper, but the kind built on trust and sacrifice and choosing each other every single day. I almost lost everything because I was lonely and desperate and wanted to believe someone could love me again. Diana knew that. She weaponized my grief, my loneliness, my hope. But Emma loved me more than Diana hated me. And that made all the difference. If you're watching this and you're lonely, if you've lost someone and you're desperate for connection, please hear me. It's okay to want companionship. It's okay to hope for love again. But watch for the red flags. Listen when the people who love you express concern. Pay attention when something feels off. And most importantly, trust the children in your life. They see things we miss. They haven't learned yet to make excuses for bad behavior or ignore their instincts in favor of politeness. Emma saw what I refused to see. She saved both our lives because she was brave enough to say something. I was the adult, but she was the hero. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? Have you ever had someone in your life warn you about something you didn't want to hear? Did you listen? I hope you did. I hope you were smarter than I was. Because I almost died before I learned this lesson. Sometimes the smallest voices carry the biggest truths. Choose the people who choose you. Trust the ones who've earned it. And when your instincts scream that something's wrong, for God's sake, listen. I did, eventually. And I'm still here to tell you about it. That's worth more than $4 million. That's worth everything.